breakfast puppies?
This podcast contains adult language and content and is meant for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Have you heard? The Glitterbois are the hot new thing. They're hip.
Hello, friends and listeners. Welcome back to another exciting, very special episode of the Glitterbois. As usual, I am in PC.
Hi, I'm Matthew.
And we are also joined by a very special guest today. Very special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sean Owen Roberson. I don't know what else you want me to say. Let's see. I'm the creative director and business partner at Palladium Books. Just joined up last year, and I'm also the line editor on the Risks for Savage Worlds line of products.
Fantastic. And you are currently running a Kickstarter for
Titan Robotics. Yeah, anybody wants to check it out. If you're familiar with the Rifts lore, it's got a bunch of great continuations of the Cyberworks lore with Archie 3 and Hagen and the Sumerians, and then Titan Robotics, which is their secret weapons manufacturing arm that nobody realizes is spying on everyone. And so just a really great, worked on a really great manuscript by Matthew Clements, and bringing it up and getting it ready for full release with some great art by Stephen Cummings, great cover art by Mike Majestic. So we're really excited about the book.
It looks great.
Yeah, we're really excited about it too. I haven't grabbed a new one since Northern Gun, I don't think, or Northern Gun 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt worked on those as well. So if you liked the Northern Gun books, then he worked on a lot of the core initial ideas for a lot of the robots and gear in this book as well.
So this Kickstarter did really well, really fast. It was funded in, what did it say, 4 hours?
5 hours, 4 hours. Yeah, it was just a few hours. Yeah. Yeah,
and now it's like 3 times what you were looking for to do the book. It's into several stretch goals.
Yes, we're into a few stretch goals. I did a 1 week update, and we threw out some extra stretch goals. We have a lot of fans coming in from the Palladium side, a lot of coming in from the Savage Rift side. A lot of the Rifts for Savage Worlds fans are either Savage Worlds fans or new fans that a lot of times we catch that are not familiar with Palladium books or with Savage Worlds, interestingly. And so it's a whole nother batch of fans coming in. And so I really designed this and worked real hard to try and make it something that we've got something for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've got, we did announce a new stretch goal. If we hit the $125,000 mark, not only will they be getting a Savage Worlds or Savage Rifts conversion document for the Titan Robotics material, but with this campaign, we also did what we're calling the Cyberworks collection, which collects Rift Sourcebook 1 revised and expanded together with Sourcebook 2 Mechanoids, Sourcebook Sumerian Nation, and a relevant portion of Rift's Aftermath, and a little bit of stuff from some Rifters that didn't make it into Titan Robotics itself, right? We already brought a lot of stuff in. Yes. Mine's right over here on the shelf. Yeah.
Matthew's lovingly stroking his book.
So, and it's got that the old Kevin Long cover is what we're using for the cover art on that.
Oh, I love that old Kevin Long cover. Yes.
I love it too. And so for me, that brings back lots of memories, but we also wanted it to be a really great entry point for anybody who's new to Rifts or back into Rifts and trying to rebuild a collection. We have a lot of fans that are doing that. Or for the Savage Worlds fans. And so if we hit that goal, then we're also going to convert over the stuff that hasn't been done yet for all those books that make up the Cyberworks collection. A lot of it was in my first book, Empires of Humanity, which I wrote for Rifts for Savage Worlds. But it only has like the Sumerian and Monster X. It doesn't have everything from Sumerian Nation, right? It has the A63 drone, but it doesn't have all of Archie's robots. So a lot of those things and then of course the Mechanoids, which aren't under, a lot of people may or may not know this, that's not under the contract between Palladium Books and Pinnacle. So this is a unique opportunity if you like the Savage Worlds rule set and enjoy playing that way. It's a really unique opportunity to be able to get the Mechanoids on your table, right, or in your game.
If you wanted to pick a starting point as to where to listen to our podcast and hear us go extremely squee, just so squee, Mechanoids would be that part.
I love the Mechanoids. I've always I didn't know, Kevin, that was the first thing he ever did, just trying to lead up to Palladium Fantasy. I had no idea that it was such a big deal. The foundation of what Kevin first released was the trilogy of Mechanoid adventures, to give him the seed money to do Palladium Fantasy role-playing game, right?
One of the things I've always loved about Rifts is that glimpse inside, and Palladium books in general, are those long forewords by Kevin, where he takes you through his process. And I think I fell in love all over again, very publicly on the show, when we did the Mechanoids, and it was such a beautiful look. And I really hope that going into the future, Palladium Books keeps that openness with its fans, because I swear it's one of the biggest bridge builders that I've seen from any company that does role-playing games ever.
I agree, and it's interesting. A lot of different creators and writers don't do that, and it's not their way to approach things. But I really enjoyed it. Interestingly enough, I mentioned that to Kevin. I said, a lot of fans really love this. We need to, and he said that, some people, he thought some people didn't like it as much. And I love it. I think it's great. I understand if you don't want to do it, say, interspersed throughout the book as much, but I think we at least need a big intro, even if it's just a couple of pages into the books, into the mind of the creator and the designer and the way that they see that. I think that really helps.
And I think a lot of it is rooted in Kevin being, at least from my exposure to his works, a storyteller. He likes telling stories. He likes being there and explaining things. And as you were reading these introductions to the books, you can see him in your mind gesticulating about it.
Very much so. Yeah.
That's how it reads in my brain.
Yeah, he really is a storyteller. I think I'm a little biased, obviously, but I was saying this before he asked me to join Palladium. And I've always thought he's just one of the preeminent storyteller in the industry right now.
I would agree.
And even the people that aren't into Palladium games will even say, but there's just so many great ideas. They love to read the books just to mine them for ideas and spark their own creativity. And so I totally agree with that. And I think it's interesting now because, when I read those sections, I hear Kevin's voice.
So, Sean, what is your history with Palladium? What got you into Palladium and its stuff? Not so much as a designer, but just as a person who likes the game.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, so the first thing I got into with tabletop gaming was BattleTech. And I really enjoyed BattleTech, loved BattleTech. And my buddies and I would play, and we really just loved the crunchy combat system and everything. One of my buddies got the D&D red box, and we were all in middle school, and we literally played, the first time I played D&D was, we were sitting in line on the gym floor, and it was a rain day or something like that. And my buddy has like, hey, look what I got. And he sneaks it out, and we start rolling and playing. And I mean, totally Stranger Things moment, I guess. But we did that. And then the first game I ever owned was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hell yeah.
And I've got where's my copy? It's on the shelf over here. But yeah, I've got my beaten and battered TMNT copy. I literally traded a TMNT graphic novel for the RPG because I was like, well, I've read the graphic novel, but I haven't experienced this RPG yet, right? I was a huge Ninja Turtles fan, and I was hooked. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. Then that got me into Ninjas and Super Spies because I wanted Kung Fu for my mutant animals. And then that, there was a little call out to Heroes Unlimited. I got into Heroes Unlimited. My cousin got Palladium Fantasy, but I think only ever played it once or twice with him at most. Most of the time, my cousin was visit. I was a little older, so I'd be running, silly little Heroes Unlimited games or Truckin' Turtles Adventures or something like that. And then Rifts came out, And I ran into Robotech as well, but I didn't pick up Robotech until after Rifts had come out. And so I guess that's why I didn't do the inevitable Robotech in Rifts that so many people have done. But no, I got into Rifts, and that was kind of the end of it. I mean, I've played a lot of other role-playing games, but Rifts is they always if you looked at my gaming history, I think that Rifts, they would all be like Rifts palate cleansers, because I always come back to Rifts. And in fact, I was in the military, and when I got out of the Air Force, one of my buddies said, "Hey, will you run Rifts again?" that led to a series of events where I am where I am now. Right? It was just always come back to Rifts. I always thought of things as Borgs or bots or whatever, in that's cybernetics, or that's bionics, right? The Palladium distinctions and stuff like that. It just that kind of formed the schema of how I imagine the unreal and the supernatural and science fiction in a lot of ways. So very foundational for me.
Excellent. We had very similar. NPC came from the Palladium fantasy route, I believe.
Yep, that was my first.
And I am a straight up Robotech boy. And those original super clean Kevin Long pictures, just, I mean, when you're a young boy and you look to be somewhere around our age, there was 44. Nothing.
I don't know how.
Yeah, 45. There was nothing like that then. Nothing. It was a whole new style, and it just it's beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. I remember I saw the first Rifts advertisements. In some of my friends had comics, were into comics. I wasn't as into comics, but no, I saw Rifts advertisements, and I saw the one where there's the Dinobot smashing another robot's head in. There's the other one where there's the Coalition Dead Boy standing next to the Mark V APC, and I saw those illustrations, and I was like, I don't know what Rifts is, but I want it.
Yes,
I want it really bad, and it came out in late 1990. And back then there was no interwebs, right? And so I just kept going to the same comic book store. There's a really cool one in Houston called Nan's Games and Comics, and there were some other games back, shops back then, like Phoenix Comics and Games and Third Planet. Any Houstonians would be like, "Oh yeah, I love those places." But I kept going back to Nan's, where I had bought my first BattleTech set, right? And I kept looking for this Rifts book, and I didn't get it until early 1991. So it's kind of funny. I'll tell people, "Oh, I started playing Rifts when it first launched." But I started playing, in 1991 when it first launched, and of course, it actually came out in 1990. But I got a third printing, was the fastest I could get it, because it just kept selling out so fast. But after that, it was always every few months it would go to the comic book store, look, is there a new Rifts book? Did the World Book come out yet? Is there a new source book? And I just kept doing that for years.
And that original one, that would be the Butts edition, right?
What's that?
That would be the Butts edition one, right? The one with all the booty on the cover. That's our name for it.
I didn't even look at it. I was like, I want that game. Yeah, that. So many people are like, "Oh, that cover, got me," and I'm like, I didn't care. It could have been anything on the cover. I wanted. I saw that Kevin Long art, and I wanted that game. I wanted robots, and I wanted guys with gas masks and spikes on their shoulders, and giant APCs and
those juicers with their mohawks.
I saw samurai swords. Reading through that book, my mind was just blown. It was not like anything else that it's not just these generic tropes. It's all these really specific world building characters.
Yeah.
Even the OCCs, even the character types have character, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that we've always found on the show to be a particular strength of the system is that while there are revisions done, it's not like an addition. That everything is still usable. And we were curious because we read in the Kickstarter that you are combining a dual system format here. You're going to be using, is the Savage Rifts like a handout, or is that going to be part of the book? Or
it's not part of the book. So the Savage Rifts material is just a conversion document.
And
this is something that it was fans brought this to my attention. I was here at the Palladium open house this year, and one of the fans came up, and Dan Fredericks, really great guy. He's written some things, but in Rifters, and he's a great writer. And so we were talking, and he said, he's like, I'd really like to see a conversion document for Titan Robotics. And I was like, really? Okay. And we chatted about it for a while. And he brought it up a little later. We were signing some books that people had brought. And I'm still trying to get used to that because to me, I didn't write those books, right? It's 30-year-old books that Kevin created, and people are asking me to sign it now that I'm here at Palladium. And that's kind of surreal. But anyways, no, we were talking and a bunch of fans overheard him bringing it up again. And they were like, no, we'd love that. That'd be great. Apparently, a lot of people switch depending on what their gaming group likes between the Savage Worlds rules and the Palladium rules. But so I talked to Kevin, I talked to Shane Hensley, who's the creator of Savage Worlds, the owner of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. PEG is what we usually call them. Yeah, they're both great guys. And they were like, yeah, well, let's make something happen. And so I just thought it'd be a really fun crossover that we could do. But the Savage Worlds material is not in the Palladium book. It's a separate conversion document.
Okay.
But in a lot of ways, it'll really mirror how it is to play a lot of Savage Rifts material anyways, because a lot of times we'll have these gear lists, right? And it'll be tables full of tons of gear. And all that gear has descriptions and art in Palladium books, right? The vehicles all have great information about them. So a lot of fans have really found, and this is intentional, we'll list which books are the major sources for any Savage Rifts book. And so fans can go and open it up or buy the PDF or whatever and check that stuff out in the Palladium system. And it just adds more and more depth to what they're doing. So this isn't really any different in a lot of ways. It's just a different PDF you would open up to look up the Savage Worlds rules and stats for your games. But yeah, a lot of people are asking about that. We're not doing two different versions. It's not a dual statted rule system. And you will need to have, say, Titan Robotics for that conversion book to make a lot of sense. I mean, you'd have the names and the stats and things like that, but there's a lot of cool information about each one of the robots and power armor and weapon systems, and obviously the lore and why you're doing all these different types of adventuring. It won't be very useful without that. So
Savage World seems very streamlined, very condensed, whereas like a typical Rifts book is heavy with tables and all those lovely maps and all that great stuff. Right. So yeah,
the Savage Worlds is very streamlined. Kevin always says that. He's like, wow, it's amazingly dense. But that's the mandate, right? We're not trying to replace, even, now I'm at Palladium, but it was never the goal to replace any Palladium books. It was the goal to enable them, but also give people the broad overview they need at a minimum, right? To understand the depth of the world and the setting. But it's always been, hey, go check that book out. If you like juicers, go check out Juicer Uprising, right? If you're interested in the Federation of Magic, there's a great book for that, right? So it's never tried to replace. But one of the fun things is all the Savage Rifts books are set in 109 PA, just after the fall of Tolkien, like the Rifts Aftermath book. So in a lot of ways, the Savage Rifts books for collectors are great because we do bring up the timeline and fill in some of the gaps and stuff that might exist otherwise. So, if you go read Coalition Navy, that's set many years before the Siege on Tolkien ends, right? And so if you're wondering, well, what happened to the Coalition Navy and all these different things during the Civil War with Free Quebec and, the war on Tolkien, and then all the different conflicts in the Gulf of Mexico and Texas and the Mississippi, well, the answers, for instance, are there in Empires of Humanity in Rifts for Savage Worlds. And for instance, the other thing is we're just about to launch crowdfunding on the Pinnacle side for South America and Terror on the Dark Frontier, which is a campaign box set. But the South America book is called Land of a Thousand Islands. But it's another one of those things. It jumps from 102, 103 PA all the way up to 109 PA. And it's all canon. Kevin and I worked very carefully on it.
Okay, so speaking of formats and the differences between these books, one thing that immediately jumped out to me when I was first looking at this Kickstarter, the day it launched, as I was picking which level I wanted to back at, was something fascinating as a description of chapters. Now, Palladium's books historically don't really have chapters.
You are correct, sir.
They just sort of flow around. So my question is this a taste of things to come in Palladium books?
Yeah. I didn't realize I was doing anything crazy, but for me, naturally, I wanted, and some of this comes from working on the Rifts for Savage Worlds products Pinnacle had a general format they wanted for their books, but they're very cool. They're very cool. They've always let me do what I need to do to try and make Rifts or Savage Worlds the right thing. And because they understand that Rifts is not the same, it's not cookie cutter like a lot of other settings. And we're trying to do some really interesting stuff. So one of the things is that the formatting of those books came out of a combination of that and also going back to Palladium books, source books, and world books and saying, okay, what are the different sections and titles and how do we break down this information to present it in a similar format? And I was in the military, and maybe just the way my brain is wired, I like patterns and order, right? And so there were some, and this is not a knock. I love Matt Clements and his manuscript, but one of the challenges, for instance, when I came to this book was there was a part of the book where it said, "Hey, after this, it's all employees only, right? Secret information." But then the gear section with all the robots and power armor was after that line. And I said, that's not going to function. I mean, people really, if there's these player options or there's this gear that players are going to want, that all needs to be front loaded if you're going to say everything past this point is top secret, right? Yeah. And so I kind of like took the book apart and put it back together in, some mad puzzle. And through that process kind of realized, hey, it'd be really nice to say, if you want, to see the equipment, that's chapter 2. All the player facing character options, and basically chapter 1 is designed as the down and dirty. Your player reads it. It's quick. It's fun. It's snappy. You get the new Synthroid race option, and then you get the new Titan Dispatcher OCC, and it gives you basically a breakdown of what kind of characters could be on a Titan courier team, and that's kind of introducing this new play paradigm that we have in the book, so that you can be a part of all this espionage and intrigue and stuff like that. And so, yeah, and suddenly I was like, well, I really want to just be able to say chapter 2. And then I was talking with Wayne. Wayne's like, well, but there's no chapter 2. I had broken these files down. It's in by theme, and it was the order of the book. And then I'm like, well, I'm just going to call them chapters just for my own sanity. But yeah, that's one of the things that Kevin was really excited about when he asked me to join Palladium Books as his business partner. One of the things he says, I want you to help me revitalize the company, move things into the future, right? Revamp systems. Because this is one of the things a lot of people think, oh, Kevin doesn't listen to the fans, or Kevin doesn't want to do this or that. A lot of people don't understand that there's been, a lot of challenges on the business and personal level for him, but also he lost his brain trust, for instance, when Eric Wujcik passed away. So Kevin was pushing forward, but he, it's like, if I was doing this by myself, it would be really tough too. Fortunately, I have Kevin, right? And if you need people to formulate things and strategize and things like that. So it's finally, he's got the bandwidth, and we can have these discussions and decide how we want to move forward. And the other thing is that kind of formatting. It's really fun to pick up a Palladium book and read it cover to cover, because it feels. It's a really unique, satisfying, gratifying experience. I've had a fan tell me this, right? A good friend. And he said, I really enjoy that aspect of it. But then when I want to go look back at the book and find XYZ thing, it's always in a different spot, right? And there's 90 plus books, right? So this is one of those things where it's like, well, we can come up with I can, make a formula here and try and develop and slow. I don't want to blow up everything and reset it all at the same time, but slowly make these very, very deliberate. I won't say cautious, but we are cautious. I don't want to break something that's not, fix something that's not broke, right? But make these cautious steps forward that will help move the Palladium paradigm, right? And to be just, to be more of what we want it to be. Hope that makes sense.
We are so excited to hear someone say the words organize.
Yes.
I mean, just so excited.
So on board.
One of the things we love so much is that the sheer wealth of data and world and things and directions you can go into. And the thing that always makes us twitch just a little is, and where was that again?
Right. That's why there's indexes, right? Well, and it's like your Palladium is, especially Rifts, is a victim of its own success. I mean, it's wildly successful. What other setting has 90 plus products? I mean, that's insane, right? And we love it for that, but also that can start to bog things down, and things that wouldn't be an issue until you get to that kind of scale suddenly start to creep in and become an issue. And yeah, it's really fascinating. But no, we want to make sure that it's as positive, as wonderful experience as possible. Kevin and I work hand in hand on all these things. Kevin is very open minded and eager. He's been he was great to work with as him, the licensor, me, and you know, the folks that I was working with at and still working with at Pinnacle Entertainment as licensees, and then now as business partners. It's really great. And then that's part of the reason why we're trying to figure out. Some people understand when you say business partner, other people don't. And so we figured maybe creative director was the title we'd give me, just so that people that maybe didn't get the business partner idea would get that, right? That's I'm working on doing all those things, right? And I want as many Kevin Siembieda original books as we can get. So that's my way of making that happen as best as possible.
You know, something you said a few minutes ago resonated with me, and it never crossed my mind, but you are so spot on. But unfortunately, using this kind of thing in a conversation might not necessarily be the most appropriate, but essentially nobody can replace Wujik, but you have taken the Wujik role that was sorely missing, and filling it totally makes sense. The person to bounce the ideas, the other part of the pair, you know, because Wujik was so influential on so much of the early days, and his absence has been noted. But a lot of that is, you know, his inspiration and his touch, but also you can see it in the way that Kevin writes and the way Kevin designs, not having that second, you know, the foil, the other part of the comedy duo, the you know, the crazy man to the straight man kind of thing. Not having that balance is, well, having that balance now is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things that's been odd for me. And by the way, Kevin says hi. He'd love to come on anytime. We'd like to be on regularly if y'all want. You know, you just let us know.
Yay!
Yay! But one of the interesting things is that Kevin and I had become friends. I don't know if you've, you know, for anybody listening or, you know, that doesn't know, I wrote some of this in Rifter 85 in my introduction in there. I was planning on starting my own company and game lines while still working on the Risk for Savage Worlds products. And I'd been telling Kevin my business plans and different settings that I wanted to do and things like that. And he was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great, Sean, blah, blah, blah." And then at one day he was just like, "Sean, I don't want you to finalize these plans. I hate to throw a wrench into things, but what do you think about coming to Palladium?" And that was very unexpected. But after that, and after I got here, I suddenly realized we have this weird kind of mind meld.
Nice.
A lot of times we finish each other's sentences. We have the same ideas. It's kind of odd. Kevin was joking the other day. He said, at some point, one of us is going to say something completely random and the other person's going to be like, "What?" But it hasn't happened yet. We'll start going down I'll start going down some mental alley, and he'll be like right there with me. And it's kind of a surreal experience. And for me, I've never experienced that before. For him, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is like what it was like when I had Eric Wujik around. We could just talk and do this all day long." And Al said the same thing. He's like, "Oh, it's great for Kevin to have somebody here like that." And so that's been a really, really awesome experience, and made me super excited to be here because it really is a wonderful collaboration. And again, it's not like 2 + 2 = 4. It really feels like it's a multiplier, right?
Yeah, exponential.
That gets in there. Yeah, exponential. Yeah.
Adding a second person creates an order of magnitude of creative genius. Yeah.
Well, that was actually just completely got rid of one of that question. That question. You know, we actually had a very important question that we need to pose to you as a torch carrier and an insider at Palladium Games. We have gone back and forth. We have asked the internet. We have asked all the fans we can find. And that is officially, how do you pronounce Kevin's last name?
I say Siembieda. That seems similar to what he says. So
Okay.
I love it.
We've done about 4 iterations of his last name, and we've never met him. You know,
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think the proper pronunciation might be like Siembieda, but yeah, it's I say Siembieda, and that's usually what he says to people that he's talking to.
okay,
Americans,
right.
not Polish.
Back in the day, I had a GM when I was first getting into Rifts at like the age of like 14 or 15. And I remember one of the things that he would do, he always pronounced Kevin's last name Siembieda. And he would, whenever yeah, it's not correct, but it was funny the way that he would do it, as like whenever he would like do something terrible to us as a party, or like he would get the last word, he would always go, and that's your Siembieda, boom. And I was like, I don't think that's how it's pronounced.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's interesting. There's yeah, it's a hard name to say, and I used to think it was Siembieda or something.
That's what we've been going with right there. Yeah, it was Siembieda.
Yeah, but yeah, he says Siembieda. So yeah,
Okay.
it's by the way, it's Chi-Town, not Chi-Town.
Yeah, Chi-Town.
It's Chi-Town. That's Zytikik, Lord Coke.
Yeah.
Sorry, Zytikik?
Zytikik. Yeah.
Zytikik. Yeah.
We got it. We did it.
We got it.
Woo!
We got it right.
Yeah.
Not X-tick.
Right. Yeah, I used to, when I was a kid, I would say Zytikik, but I've every once in a while that'll slip out, but it's Zytikik.
Mine was Zytikix. Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy name.
It is. It's unique.
Kevin Long apparently came up with that one.
Excellent. Tell us about these cards that we're seeing in the Kickstarter there. They're Rifts playing cards. Do they serve a game purpose, or are they just cool cards?
Well, both. So for Palladium fans, they're just cool cards. For Pinnacle or Savage Rifts fans, that's part of they're called action cards. That's a core part of the initiative system, right? And so one of my buddies, he's on the Aaron Burkett, he's on the Savage Rifts writing and development team that I've built up now. He was saying, oh, you need to make sure that when you do the Kickstarter, you do add-ons so that people can get the two different Rifts decks, that know, the full color and the line art one. And I, of course, added that. But it immediately gave me the idea, wait, what about a Titan Robotics deck? So, and I studied visual design after the military. And so I was like, hey, I can do that. And so I dug in and created that deck of cards just as something cool for fans. And it actually serves a purpose for the Savage Worlds fans.
Yeah.
But no, I was really happy with it. That it came out really well. There was a lot of great art to work with.
You got Chuck Walton stuff in there?
Much.
What's that?
You got any of the Chuck Walton stuff in there?
I think there's at least one Chuck Walton piece. It's Argent Goodson and his wife Diana.
Okay.
Are there? That's the ace for the. So each suit is themed by one of the Cyberworks factions.
Ooh.
So yeah, so the spades is Archie and Hagen and their secret robot legions, right? And then the hearts, of course, is the Shimerians. The clubs is the Mechanoids. And then the diamonds, of course, is Titan Robotics. And so Argent Goodson and Diana are the ace. But it has a bunch of Kevin. It's got Kevin Long, Newton Ewell. It's got Stephen Cummings. It's got a bunch of Mike Mumma, a bunch of great artists, a bunch of really killer art in the deck.
So stepping a little bit beyond the cards, are there any kind of neat, cool secrets about Titan Robotics that you haven't shared yet that you want to share now?
Yes. So Diana, Argent Goodson is Archie's secret son, basically, the most humanoid android he had ever created to run Titan Robotics. They even used the MindLink helmet to have humans help Argent learn skills rapidly and things like that. So one of the things I've added to the book is that if Argent Goodson is the greatest mind that Hagen and Archie have created, then Diana is the greatest weapon they've ever created. So she's basically like the oh crap panic button if anything were to happen. And they've taken all types of stuff because they're collectors. They collect technology from anywhere and everywhere, include not just the mechanoids, but right, they get all types of technology. And so she contains a lot of systems that they can't currently reproduce necessarily.
Oh,
Right. So, and she is fiercely loyal to Argent. And then, there's some stuff about that in the book, obviously. And then, but Argent, I would, Matt did some great stuff, and I decided I wanted to dive a little more into Argent's background when I was working on the book. He's pretty cool, I think. He's a pretty cool cat, and we've got a lot of information in there about he has a secret island that he has taken over and actually purchased the rights to from the Manistique Imperium as recognized as a royal holding under his title, so he can entreat with royalty as royalty. It's got his own like personal amusement parks and getaway areas, and he and Diana have, it's kind of a Frankenstein, I guess, Dr. Frankenstein, he had his monster, right? But then Argent says, well, what about me? Where's my helpmeet? And they create Diana, and then Argent and Diana are like, we want to have children. And so the kids are pretty interesting too. Their two children are pretty interesting too, where
nice.
they don't know that they're not real boys. The two kids, the daughter and son, every year on their birthday, they pop the brain into a new 1 year older body. So, right. And there's some interesting stuff there.
Excellent.
And let's
creepy.
see, something else. A little thing is like Argent Goodson is good friends with Colonel Liebach, and there's a bunch of little tiny things like that. A lot of little details that I'm hoping that people will enjoy. Another thing is, it's in there talking about the Synthoroids,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess the best way to imagine them is kind of like the replicants in Blade Runner, but there is nothing biological about them. They're complete machine replicas, human replicas. They don't age or anything like that, right? So just another way for people to be able to jump in and be a part of that whole story of get to play neural networked androids that are learning and growing and trying to fit into human society. Little nods to like Data from Star Trek, maybe.
Excellent.
I love it.
I have some questions about less specifically about this game and more about where we're seeing Palladium move.
Sure.
As like printing costs go up and as everything else is going up, are you still able to do because you were the pioneers, Palladium, of the perfect cover, which
Right.
is such a great affordable. Like I still have my original conversion book from way back in the day, and it's peeled a
Me
little
too,
bit,
yeah.
which I think every last one of them has, but it's so usable as opposed to literally most of the game hardbacks I have from that era. The perfect
Right, I
covers
can still use
hold.
my 30-year-old
Yeah.
Rifts books. Like I've literally, my thumb has worn through the middle of the cover from flipping it so much. But the book is 100% usable, right?
Yeah, is this going to be a sustainable format that you see moving forward into the future?
Yes.
Okay.
And as long as we can make it happen, Kevin and I are really both very dedicated to making sure that Palladium books, that we're giving fans the best products we can that are
Mhm.
going to have that shelf life. Now, while at the same time trying to keep them affordable. And in fact, that's one of the things that people will say, well, why are you doing a Kickstarter and blah, blah, blah. And one of the big things that people may not understand is when you do a print run, the more books you print at once, it gets cheaper and cheaper. And the numbers can be like kind of shocking when you see them just lined out. And that's one of the reasons for the Titan Robotics Kickstarter is to keep the cost of the print run as low as possible. So that helps us to delay and reduce price increases. We've been really trying to stick to our guns with this one, and it's our I hate to say competitors, but a lot of our peers, right, in the industry are having to raise prices, and a lot of there's a lot of issues because, well, they'll print in China or overseas or somewhere, and I'm not saying like that's like always bad thing to do, but it really changes the dynamics. There's all this long haul shipping and things that need to happen, and products get delayed just on container ships, and logistics is getting crazier. So Palladium Books has been printing in the USA, virtually everything in the USA for decades. And one of the competitive advantages we've got right now is that a lot of our printers have been working with Kevin for 20, 30 years. And so when things are starting to get a little better, hopefully that'll hold. But when things were really tight over the past year and a half or so, Kevin was still able to get us things printed at pretty or comparatively reasonable time frames when other people just couldn't get things printed. But the price is going up, and that's a big reason for the Kickstarter, is to make sure that we can do the big print run. We couldn't. It'd be very difficult. The prices would be outrageous if we tried to do especially the collector's stuff, the foil leather hardcovers and stuff like that. If we weren't doing this Kickstarter, right, it would be really hard to do that. That's one of our goals. We'll see how things hold, but we do want to still keep bringing those type of books to our customers at the lowest price point we can, and still make sure that obviously the business is healthy and functioning, and all that, right? It's a double-edged sword, right? But the nice thing too is that means that we can get the books printed and to our warehouse and shipped out to the fans very quickly compared to a lot of other companies as well. So there's a lot less turnaround time. And with this Kickstarter, a lot of people were like, June is when I get my physical stuff. Well, that's a very conservative estimate. We're just trying to hedge our bets. Hopefully it'll be much sooner than that. But we're just trying to, again, account for anything that could go wrong. I don't know if a lot of people don't know this. December 15th last year, I got COVID, and I tested positive and was out for 10 weeks. And then I had long COVID. I wasn't able to drive back up I went and stayed with family. I wasn't able to drive back up to Michigan until just before the Palladium open house in April. So, and then I couldn't work my usual number of hours and things like that. I would just get exhausted. The brain fog was a huge issue. I had highlighted parts of, say, Rift's Aftermath and other books, and I would have to read them every morning, all my highlighted sections, before I could write on Titan Robotics. Now it's been, I'm feeling a lot better, and it's been like over a month since I've read through those sections, but I had to do it every day. That's the kind of like issue it was. So a lot of people don't realize that, but that really jammed up a lot of things, because I'm still also, leading the work on the Rifts for Savage Worlds material with a good team of people, but that's still, I'm dedicated to quality, right? And so it's one of those things that, again, if any other things like that should happen, we don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of crazy times, right? So we're trying to hedge our bets, but yeah, that's something that we really want to keep the quality and the durability of the books as high as possible.
Perfect covers have been such a great value since the 80s. I mean, I wanted to see them continue. I have a couple foils, both gifts. I love seeing those and, the hardbacks, but those perfects, they hold up. And when the power goes out, you're still playing, which is harder to do with PDFs. And I would like to throw my vote into the hat of saying, always keep printing those. They are fantastic. Please never stop.
We'd like to, the printing industry is constantly changing, and there's a lot of disruptions and stuff, but absolutely. Thank you for your feedback too. Yeah. But and there's a lot of people that really like the hardcovers. I wasn't expecting that. For instance, with Titan Robotics Kickstarter, I had a pledge level where you could get the perfect bound Titan Robotics by itself and the PDF with it, but I didn't have one for just the limited edition hardcover, right? That's full color, as opposed to like the foil hardcover. But people asked for it, and I wasn't expecting that. So we added it. I added it the other day. I added it on Tuesday, so that people would have that option. It's just, sometimes you're just not sure what people are going to want, and it's interesting what people will gravitate towards. Some people don't see value in hardcovers or foil editions. Other people love them, right? And want every single one we release and beg for more. So, like we just ordered hardcover first edition foil Beyond the Supernatural.
Nice.
So fans were requesting it, and we were like, okay, let's pull the trigger, So Kevin and I really want the best things for the fans. We are fans, right? It doesn't matter even if it's our own stuff, right? And we want the best for the fans. We're listening a lot. Like if it's like half the stuff I'm talking about is things that were spurred on by other people's ideas or requested directly. So
yeah, I have some rapid fire ones. I don't know if these are ones you want to go over. Let's start with the most controversial one. And this is, something we had a long talk about before we wanted to bring forward. Would you give us both you and Kevin's shirt size so we can send you Glitterbois t-shirts?
Oh.
You can send those in an email. It doesn't have to be done here. That's the worst we're going to hit you with. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I'd love a t-shirt though. I always need t-shirts.
No, I think the deepest question I have is looking around the industry right now. There's all this kerfluffle with Games Workshops shutting down fan stuff. Nintendo's been awful about it. We like that Palladium has reached out to us. That makes us feel really good that there is a place within Palladium for people to appreciate, and that you're so responsive to your fans. Like you were just telling us earlier in this, you talked to a fan at a con and a bunch of other fans said, yeah, that would be cool. And now it's in the Kickstarter. And that is something we love about Palladium, is how engaged you are with your audience. And we love that in this increasing world where the lawyers are calling the shots for companies, that there are still humans. And I do not necessarily include all lawyers as those. in charge of Palladium that can be spoken to as humans.
Yeah, it's interesting because I grew up when I was in high school, the internet became a thing. I would go to the University of Houston to use the internet and date myself a bit, but it's interesting because back then it was the Wild West, right? And people were putting all time okay, so let me back up. I'll hear people say, oh, Palladium's so they'll throw the lawyers at people that try and just do fan websites and stuff. And I'm like, maybe you'd have to give me specific instances because, and a lot of that was, again, it was the Wild West. A lot of things were being figured out. But I saw people posting half the content of books on their personal website for their personal game. That's what I saw a lot of. And I don't, as someone who's even working in the business now, I mean, it's like you start posting stuff that I wrote, like you're literally taking money out of my hand and my family's hand, mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But and so at the same time, a lot of people don't seem to understand where that line is, right? Hey, it's good guy Juice. He does master the game, and I saw one time he was confused about. Could he do Marvel to an episode where he talk about on his YouTube channel, he would talk about creating Marvel superheroes using the Palladium rules. Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's Kevin and I, we encourage that, Now, depending on what you say about a Marvel superhero, you might have to worry about Marvel saying something to you, but we don't care. Right. But the main thing is just don't reproduce our copyrighted material, right? The work and the labor that we've put out there. You want to do your own home brew stuff that's different, that's cool. But at the same time, we can't have you posting official Star Wars conversions on the Palladium website or forum or something. And some people don't seem to understand those lines, but no, we really encourage fans to do stuff. We're happy to work with y'all. Where there's the the Cozy Cavern Mysteries. There's all types of stuff going on, and we're excited for the fans to produce content and enjoy Palladium games and share them with everybody as much as they can. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's just yet another way. that Palladium is so much different than, like, say, GW or any of the other like old player names around, because it's gotten to the point out there where it's you can't even talk about it because a brand has become so monolithic. And I just, like I said, I just love that you're still humans about it. And of course, yeah, let's not publish your books on our pages, but yeah,
But you know what I mean,
brilliant.
right? There's a difference between homage or fan conversion or reprinting things, right?
Yeah.
So, were you say something, NPC?
Yeah. So after Titan Robotics wraps up, what are your further plans?
Oh, I'm gonna jet off to the Bahamas and no.
Sounds fun.
So right. So there's a few things, and this is so one thing that I want people to understand. Just I am a human with only so many hours in every day, and so I'm also still heading up the development on the Rifts for Savage Worlds product line. And I at first, I just want to say the people at Pinnacle Entertainment Group, Shane Hensley, Simon Lucas, Jody Black, Clint Black, Christopher Landauer, and the rest. They're wonderful people. I love working with them, and the people at Sigil. They do a lot of contracted art and things like that, VTT work. But when I went to them and said, "Hey, Kevin's offered me to join him at Palladium," Kevin was worried that they would think he was stealing me, right? They said the immediate first thing they said is, "Sean, we'll do whatever we need to do to make sure you can take full advantage of this opportunity. If you want any, help or any advice, we're here to give it to you." And so that's been really great. As part of that, I haven't wanted to drop the ball on the Rifts for Savage Worlds fans. The reason that we were able to do the new Rifts Pawn Set 1, Pawn Set 2 is coming. The reason that we are able to do the virtual tabletop support for Savage Rifts, that's all because of the relationship that Pinnacle and I, have built with Kevin and with Palladium. And I don't want to forget anybody or leave anybody out. And that's, again, the reason for these things like crossover, where fans are like, gee, it sucks to wait for you guys to plow through 30 books or 90 books or whatever, right, to catch up on the world for Savage Rifts. And that's one of the reasons why I was like, it's like giving a conversion document for Titan Robotics or even any of the other things that we've talked about, if we hit that stretch goal. That's not slowing down anything on the other side of the aisle, right? So why wouldn't we try and do that when we can? But it's after this. So just so people understand, I'm very busy doing that too, but I will do both as long as I can, and I'm working with a great group of people who have made some really big things possible. So Terror on the Dark Frontier is coming. And so is The Land of 1,000 Islands. That's the South America World Book, and the Rifts Pawn Set 2. Those are all coming in a crowdfunding campaign with Pinnacle Entertainment Group soon as well. And the next big thing for me on the Palladium side is I've been working on a Palladium style guide and a writer's guide. So part of the thing is again, I don't want to reinvent something that I haven't experienced myself. But now that I've got the Rifter 85, I did the layout and what is it called? I'm the one that chose the articles that we put in it and things like that, right?
You curated it.
And it was a great way to take a fresh look at it, right? And that's one of the bigger skills that I have that not all authors have is being able to do the layout and design and things like that. When I made the deck of cards, right? So I know how to do the graphic design programs. I made the video for Titan Robotics, right?
That was great, incidentally. Can we talk about that
super did you like
quick?
it?
That was so good. I loved the music. I loved the art. It was brilliant. I loved it.
Well, thanks. I'll pretend that you're not just saying that because I'm here on your show.
No. I would like you to congratulate Carl Casey from what was it? The White Bat?
White Bat Audio. Yes.
Yeah, that was so good.
His music's great. Yep. And he's got a bunch of great stuff out there for people that are looking to use some great audio. But no, it really fit and it worked for me. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed it. Kevin said he loves it too. But yeah, the next big thing for me is putting those kind of tools together. I did it for the Rifts for Savage Worlds development team and design team. So to help give them the information they need to be better writers on Rifts. That's a lot of that's been in the progress. And so it'll be more like finalizing and converting some things over. And then I'll be rolling into Bestiary 2. So Rifts Bestiary 2. Kevin has some monsters and different things that he's been working on for it. that's just, we have to get that to the fans. There's a lot of things we have to get to the fans, right? And that's the next thing that we have to get to the fans.
Okay, so you were talking about putting together a style guide and a writing guide. That ties directly into my next question. What are the chances of eventually getting some kind of a system reference document that people, fans, content creators can have access to? Like a master, just streamlined to technical aspect of the rules itself, all in one place, master reference, organized in a way that can just be pulled out, looked at on the fly, and let's keep playing.
That's definitely on the table, but I just want people hear this, and it's, every book is a lot of work. I've never had a book that didn't have something that was a lot of work about it, right? And so we have, I refer to it a lot of times as a log jam of production of promised things. There's all and part of it too is it's funny. I'll talk to Kevin about stuff, and I'll say, "Oh, a fan mentioned this or that," and he's like, "I canceled that 25 years ago." People hadn't seen. They know the one reference of when it was announced, and they don't know when it was canceled. So one of the things we are doing to try and reconcile that is we're actually putting together we'll see when it can get up on the web page, but it's a master release list, so people can see what titles have been announced, what titles have been canceled. There are some that they're basically on like production hold, because we'd love to do them. We just don't. It's beyond the horizon, right? It's more than a year and a half, 2 years out, right? And so there are a lot of books. I mean, it blew my mind when I got here. So Kevin does things very differently than other companies that I've come in contact with. First of all, most companies have one, maybe two major product lines. We have like 10 settings.
Yeah.
We consider 5 of them to be major, right? So they all deserve love. And so that's a challenge in and of itself. The different products and books that have been announced, there's back to what I was saying is Kevin will okay, maybe a better example. Matthew Clements wrote Titan Robotics, and people have seen the raw preview edition, right? And then a lot of art was made by talented people like Chuck Walton and Stephen Cummings, right? And some stuff by Mike Majestic. He was more focused on the cover, but he even did some other sketches that people would probably love. And so that means that then the details from that art needs to be brought back into the manuscript so that they now mesh. And then the idea from the artist, the idea from the original manuscript writer, and then you build on top of that to the next level to execute that final vision. And that's a really important step of the process, right? It's that last 20% that's like 80% of the quality is really honed there. So there's just a lot of other things that we need to get through, because it blew me away to see the cover of John Zalesnik's painting for the cover of Riffs Antarctica sitting there when I got here a year ago. And there's tons of interior art and all types of stuff, and that's true for like half a dozen books, right? Almost a dozen. There's like almost 10 in some varying degree of that, with manuscript and or tons of art, maybe even a cover. I mean, it's insane. So Kevin has just been, that he's the one point that all these things had to pass through, right? The other people that work at Palladium are really great at helping with a lot of different aspects of getting the business type stuff done. But until I got here, it was just Kevin trying to row and, guide, captain the ship.
Yeah.
Now that I'm here, we're working in parallel. And so, for instance, Creature Feature just arrived today.
Ooh.
And is being shipped out to the fans. The pre-orders just went out today. So
nice.
It's a great book. Beyond the Supernatural, I think people are going to love it. I know it's not Beyond Arcanum or Tomes Grotesque, but this was an important step towards that.
Mm-hmm.
We really, both of us really love Beyond the Supernatural and want to give it a lot of love in the future. But that's another thing that's on the horizon, I would say. It's that's one of those things that we really want to get to. But anyways, I know it's a long answer in a totally different direction when you're asking about an SRD. But the point is just that we want to fulfill a lot of these promises before we take that like a giant plunge like that, right?
Makes sense. I'm still waiting for Old Kingdom. That was one of, I was so looking forward to that book for so long. I'm a big Palladium fantasy fan, so
yeah. Well, that's definitely on the list of things that Kevin definitely wants to do.
Yeah.
So again, once we get that up on the website, I think a lot of people, fans like you, will be able to say, well, and a lot of it's just about closure. Oh, well, that's never going to happen, or this thing is going to happen. Yeah. We just don't know when, or this thing is. It's in the event horizon of what's going on right now.
Yep.
Is Palladium going to be looking at more miniatures, and as things move to more, print on demand, is that something that you folks will be dipping your toes into? Have there been any discussions around that?
Print on demand, do you mean miniatures, like STL files?
Yeah, like an STL file, like a...
So the interesting thing is I get this question a lot from fans. We have the gorgeous, beautiful miniatures from Carmen Bellairs, from, was it Rogue Heroes LLC, that he's allowed us to license and print. And actually, on the Titan Robotics, I added that as an add-on. You can get all the minis. It's $145 worth of minis for $100 as an add-on. So that's like a killer deal on those miniatures, by the way. And they're gorgeous. A lot of people don't know they exist. There's also the Rifts Pawn Set 1 that Pinnacle is letting us cross-promote as an add-on. And again, you're getting a deal on that as well. Mm-hmm. That has like 180, 200 pawns. So it's, you've got 5 Skelelots, 5, you got a coalition squad of about 5, Psy Stalker and Dog Pack 5, right? Broadkill Leader and 4 Broadkill 5, right? There's a lot of 5s of things. Right. So if anyone wants to get that, 5 A63, or these different combinations of things. So just to let people know, like I have 4 pawn sets so that I can field 20 Skelelots on my table. But yeah, it's interesting because people ask for things like that, but then we're trying to see how are the sales for the miniatures. Mm-hmm. And if the sales for the miniatures and the pawn sets aren't there and maps, then we're probably not going to do that. Right. Yeah. And I know that's a hard answer for people that really want 3D stuff, but if you want quality, that's not cheap. How to make that work as a business, that's not our core business. I used to work for Games Workshop. I was a store manager, and so I love miniatures, right? I love tabletop gaming and the strategy and tactics that get involved with that. But yeah, that's a really interesting question because I'd love to do it. If we had fans that were, if those miniatures were blown out the door, then that would be a great excuse to do more miniatures, right?
I swear it's got to be an organization thing.
But it really just depends on how much we see that communicated through purchases.
Because when I hear pawns, I think chess set. I did not think miniatures. It did not make that jump in my head because it might be me. But
well, no, they're yeah, it's really interesting because they're really durable, thick card material that is die cut and has front and back art. Mm-hmm. The art is beautiful. The art is actually book quality sized down to something this big, right? And so anyone who sees them has just been blown away with it. So, but yeah, it's like if it's an odd question because like there seems to be this underground movement of people who want these minis, but then we, I don't know. We're gonna have to check the sales on the miniatures because Kevin and I had this discussion, and it was like, well, what are the sales? Well, we're just gonna. And right now is our busy season, right? With Christmas grab bags, plus this Kickstarter right now. I mean, it's kind of insane. And so, but come January, February, we're gonna take stock and be like, was this profitable? Was it worth it? Mm-hmm. And that's just the business hard sense of it, right? We have to be practical, or else there will be no Palladium books,
right? And that just lit a fire in my brain, though, because I was thinking, how many factions does GW have? Like round about 13, when you count things like squats and whatnot. How many factions does Palladium have?
oh yeah. No. You're preaching to the crowd, right? I mean, I would love to do games, right? Like that. But the trick is, how do we do it? And is it marketable? Is it profitable?
Our wheels turning, smoke's pouring out, twitches are developing.
I mean, honestly, the best thing you could do is go get pawn sets and the pawn set 1 and the miniature combo from the Titan Robotics Kickstarter, and that's a direct communication.
Done.
Oh, this
Straight
was really
pimping to
popular,
you,
right?
our listeners, right now. Straight pimping. I want this so bad with every fiber of my wargaming being. So you, our loyal audience, are going to go out right now and buy one or both of those right now.
Oh, well, let me plug one more thing.
Oh, do. Yeah.
With the pawn set, if you get multiple copies, it's really great because here's the deal. You think you want 200 miniatures, but how often are you going to actually put them on the table? And that's when it comes down to, the I like to call them paper miniatures personally, right? Because, pawn sounds like chess or something, but that's what Pinnacle calls it. But yeah, it's one of those things of, you can bring all different types of things to the tabletop with that set at, it's like $40. I think we're selling it for 35, 36. So in the Kickstarter, I mean, it's just an amazing deal. So anyway, just so people know that it's like you think you want to paint all this stuff, but guess what? I work for Games Workshop and I had way too much stuff to paint. Right. And it starts to become drudgery, and you just have to, sometimes your hindbrain needs to be kicked out by the frontal cortex, and it says, by the way, maybe that's not exactly what you think you want necessarily.
He's speaking truth, ladies and gentlemen.
Sean, I got one last question for you.
Yes, sir.
What do we have to do to convince you and or Kevin to come out to the Dalles, Oregon in May of 2023 for WagonCon?
For WagonCon?
And I'm quite positive another one or two of our listeners may have been trying to push this as well. Father Morpheus, Matt Buckley, I know he went to open house.
Okay. Oh yeah, that name sounds familiar. I don't know. I mean, personally, right now, like I've gone to a couple of cons this year in Texas, and that was because they invited me back. I'd been there a few times before, and they got me room and board and plane flight, right? So there's some of that's just practicality of things like that. I don't know how much Kevin wants to travel, but we could talk offline.
Yeah. All right.
We're not against stuff like that, but at the same time, it takes away from production, right? So and right now that is like our number one focus is getting books out. So
So I know Matt, the fellow who is part of the WagonCon production board, he's a huge Savage Drifts player, and like every year his whole thing is a series of connected sessions that they're glorious.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, he goes all out.
And I'd love to go out to more cons. It's just sometimes the practicality and the timing. Yeah, that can be. We're always open to that. Anyone can reach out to us, and we can definitely have discussions.
WagonCon's so much fun. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to tell our vast listening audience that you would like to relate us to either your Kickstarter or what's coming up next? Or
yeah, so one of the things that I would like to mention is Creature Feature for Beyond the Supernatural is shipping like as of today. So that's awesome. If you haven't already jumped in on the Titan Robotics Kickstarter, now's the time. It also it has a really cool swanky video. But fans have really been loving the extras that you can get. And like I said, it's not just the books itself, right? The Titan Robotics book, but there's also the Cyberworks collection, which is a lot of people are really, really excited about and enjoying. The the pre-orders are really high for that. And then there's the deals on the miniatures. You can get a character's name put in the book or in memoriam for a friend or loved one who's passed, and
that is so cool.
Yeah, there's all types of stuff like that you really just check it out, and we appreciate anyone and everyone's support. I know that for me, I'm running it, and so I would appreciate your support. And this is about carrying the torch forward into the future for Palladium. Kevin and I both see this as the beginning of an entire new generation of products and a new era for Palladium. I hope, especially, Kevin and I have such a wonderful creative and working relationship that I hope he's around for a long time. But at some point he will need to put down the pen. And so I appreciate everyone's support, helping me get to that point and get ready for that. that's going to be tough whenever it happens. But yeah, we're really excited about all those things, and then we're also really excited about the Christmas surprise packages. People are loving those. I think that's one of the coolest things that Kevin does. I mean, he literally plays Santa with every single order. We read all your comments. We appreciate all of them. When Kevin puts the comments in the weekly update, those are all real. Some people are like, do people really say that? Oh yeah. So no, it's really great stuff. And I know it's a really great deal. It's, I think it's $58, and you get at least $95, $100 worth of product to you. And it's and for our fans overseas, a lot of times that can help offset the crazy shipping costs and things like that as well. But yeah, those are the big things that we've got going on. So we appreciate everyone's support, and we are rocking and rolling into the future. Next thing to get out to the fans is Bestiary 2. So
that's
excited about that as well. Yeah.
Sean, it's been a delight having you on. Thank you for putting up with the back and forth here. My computer problems kept me away from the internet for a little while, but I'm glad we were able to put this together.
I am too. I'm really excited. I appreciate you reaching out. And yeah, like I said, Kevin and I'd love to come on anytime y'all want. Just let us know.
Hell yeah.
He'd love to come on. We'd both love to come on, whatever you want.
Sounds fantastic. We will do that.
Sweet. Cool. Well, thanks again, guys.
Yeah. So, folks, you've been listening to us and a very special guest, Sean, here from the Savage Worlds Palladium crossover Kickstarter of Titan Robotics, which is out now. By the time this releases, you'll still have about 10 days left to back it. So please do get the minis, get everything, get those sweet, sweet foil covered books, which I was immediately paying mine. I need them. So yeah, and tell them we sent you.
They look dope.
Join us on Discord. Tell us your thoughts. We love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, folks. We'll catch you next time.
And thanks again, Sean.
Absolutely.
Starships, magic, mystic martial arts, romance. All of these can be found in A Cloak of Blades by Isaac Scher. You might have heard my name before. I've done a lot of voiceover work for Breakfast Puppies, and I've recently released my first novel. It's available on Amazon as an ebook and paperback, and you can get it for free if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription. I do hope you'll support my work as you're supporting Breakfast Puppies, and it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Have a good one.
You've been listening to The Glitterbois, a Palladium Books fan podcast. Glitterbois, Rifts, the Megaverse, and all other such topics are the property of Kevin Siembieda and Palladium Books. Please buy all their stuff and help keep them in print and making more games. You can order directly at palladiumbooks.com, and their entire catalog is available digitally at Drive-Thru RPG as well. Our opening music is 8-Bit Bass and Lead by Furby Guy from freesound.org. This closing music is Caravana by Philip Gross, available at freemusicarchive.org. All sound effects used are self-made or acquired via Creative Commons Zero license. If you like what you have heard, find us on Twitter and Facebook as The Glitterbois. That's BOIS. And check us out online at breakfastpuppies.com/glitterbois. And also join us on the Breakfast Puppies Network Discord at breakfastpuppies.com/discord. And if you want to help us out, please spread the word and help us build a community. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next time.